introduction to poems. And basically what that is, they're going to be our vocab terms of the day. Shut the door. Okay. So we had our introduction to poetry on Friday, and now we're going to be looking at more details, literary terms that apply to poetry. Also, in regards to everyone's test, I still have one person who needs to make it up, so that's why I'm not giving you your hard copies back yet, but all the grades are on PowerSchool. Okay. So denotation and connotation. If we're looking, so is there more to a word than when we look it up in the dictionary and what the actual definition that we read is? Yes. What we read in the definition is the denotation. But if we're talking about emotional appeals or emotions that we associate with the words, we're talking about connotations. We go more into detail over both of them. So the literal definition, the denotation, if I open up a dictionary and I look up the word definition, what I read there is going to be the denotation. If I'm talking about figurative or emotional meanings of words, then you're talking about the connotation. These are more emotions that we personally bring to each word. So if you're looking at politics especially, you'll see a lot of this. So like the word conservative. A lot of us bring our own emotions to the word conservative from either personal experience, personal beliefs. But what's important is that we also look at this when it comes to poetry, because words are going to have their denotative meanings, but we also need to see the emotions that we bring to the words to have a deeper understanding. Let's look at a few examples. Okay, so greasy. We have the word greasy as its denotation, and it means slippery. So like the grease that comes from a car, we all know what that grease is, right? But then if we're talking about a person, what does it mean if we say a person is greasy? Have you heard this terminology in someone's background? Okay, so can you tell me what you heard, Sky? Sorry.
Like gross and like not trustworthy, like kind of a weird thing.
Right, so not trustworthy. They sort of have like a, for lack of a better word, like skeezy, just dirty personality type thing. Yes, Aisha. Oh wait, does she need to come? Or just give this
The time is on.
Right, so when we're talking about someone being greasy, unless you're talking about maybe their hair having like a greasy quality to it, like the slippery feeling, then typically you're not talking about the same as the denotative meaning of greasy being slippery when you're talking about a person being greasy, because that's more having to do with personality. Okay, and then we have the word snake. Who can tell me the denotation of the word snake? What's probably the definition that you're going to find in a dictionary without reading it straight from the slideshow? Someone raise their hand and tell me, please. Can you say that again, Jill?
A venomous reptile.
A venomous reptile. That's right. So you see this snake right here. I'm pretty sure that's what we all think of first when we think of the word snake. If you're talking about a person being a snake, what kind of qualities does a person have?
Control.
What did you say?
Control.
Control?
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of times, right, they're super controlling if you can say that they're a snake. What's another quality that they might have? Raise their hands.
Hot-tempered.
What did you say?
Hot-tempered. They get this easily.
One more time, I'm sorry.
They get this easily.
Hot-tempered, right. So you can talk about hot-tempered, which would include the evil and dangerous words, because if someone's hot-tempered, or a lot of times I think you could think of the word sly, like a snake, sneaking around, they're being sneaky. Okay, so here we can see the examples firsthand of how changing one word can really change a meaning in the sentence, even though if you looked in a dictionary, inexpensive and cheap are synonyms for each other. They pretty much mean the same thing. But if you're saying we bought inexpensive souvenirs at the amusement park, and then you're saying we bought cheap souvenirs at the amusement park, Why does inexpensive have a more positive connotation here?
It just seems like the souvenirs are, I guess, more expensive than what they should be in a way, and that they're more valuable.
Right. So you're talking about value here. That's great. And that's why that has more of a positive connotation than cheap doesn't really, if you're talking about value, it's having to do with the negative connotation of the value. Like there isn't much value, it's cheap, it's not so much talking about the value of the money here, expensive. Okay, I ate a moist cupcake, I ate a soggy cupcake. Moist and soggy are synonyms, but why do we have such different feelings when we hear each of those sentences as to which cupcake we want to eat? Which cupcake do you want to eat, Brandon, and why?
A moist cupcake is delicious and soft and fluffy. A soggy cupcake has been drowned in water.
Right, so you think it more is like full of the water, you just think of soggy with like white, saturated, great. I'm a bargain shopper and I'm a cheapskate. So that's a little different, but still we get the point of basically they're doing the same thing. Well, yeah, bargain and cheapskate, but why would you prefer to say that you're a bargain shopper?
Because ours good deals for less. Not all bargain shoppers are cheapskates.
Right. Example, I'm really into couponing lately, but I don't think of myself as a cheapskate. I just love a bargain.
There's nothing wrong with coupons.
There's nothing wrong with coupons. Quick side note, I went to Bilo and they're having triple coupon day, and I walked in with my coupons and I have my list because online they have the deals matched up with the coupons. And then I walked out, they gave me $2 and all my stuff. But I'm not a cheapskate, I just love the bargain. Yes,
The arrow is slowly going that way now. It's going good.
no. We need side notes. Okay, so a lot of us bring our own meanings to these words, and I feel like she's my baby is a perfect example of this. Okay, so when you have the denotation of baby, what are you thinking? Okay, well, what would that be? That wouldn't be denotation. Right, that would be connotation because of our society, that's the association that you're having with the word baby. But if you're thinking definition dictionary and you are holding an infant,
Uh-oh.
then what? Okay. Well, what is the definition of baby here?
Actually,
An actual baby, an infant, right. So here's the father and the daughter, and when he says, she's my baby, he's literally talking about his infant. And that'd be the denotation. Think denotation, the D dictionary, okay? Look at the connection of the letters. Since you have it, I want the slip, or sit back in the table. Thank you. Okay, what's our connotation? Then, go ahead, because you were the first one to say this.
Oh, girlfriend.
Girlfriend, right.
yeah.
So a lot of us, when we hear she's my baby, because of different terminology that we've had from society and what society is telling us, we're thinking he's talking about his girlfriend, right? Likewise, we have the word player. Which picture tells us the denotation of the word player?
Soccer.
The soccer guy, why is that?
No,
Soccer player.
Soccer player. Okay, thank you. So we're actually talking about the sports player. Why is this the connotative explanation for the word player?
That's a player.
Yes, 2 girls.
Right, he has 2 girls by his side, and so in our society today, we bring these emotions or feelings that the word player means that he plays the field, as it were, but if the field were a bunch of girls, right? Okay, good job. Okay, so now let's apply this to poetry. So, here are 2 lines from poems in a station of the metro. I'm just going to read these to you. The apparition of these faces in a crowd, petals on a white black bough. Apparition, where have you heard this word before? Macbeth, thank you. What is the definition of the apparition?
Oh, his finger.
Okay, can we raise our hand because I'm hearing mumbled voices?
Sorry.
No, thank you. Yes, Tom?
Ghostly form or figure that appears.
Right, a ghostly form or figure that appears. So if we see these ghostly form or figures of the faces in a crowd, the next line, petals on a wet black in relation to these two lines? Do you have a positive, negative feeling? Do you have an eerie feeling? Do you have a happy feeling? What connotative words do we think? Or what connotative meaning does the word apparition have in this case? Positive, where do you get that from?
Well, thinking of petals, I think petals is a good thing. Because the flowers blooming or something like that. And then maybe in case of the apparition, you think it would be good is that black bough. Really don't like look at what branches that are black. Not being like think of a storm or something like that.
Right, so if we took more your second emotion, talking about the storm, I think our focus, that's a valid point, that petals, so we do associate with flowers, and that would be more happiness. But if we're talking about the wet black bough, what is the color black normally associated? Like, the storm would be one reason, like you just said.
Yeah. More like negative, I guess. It's dark.
Right, so the negative and dark. And then how would those relate if we're going back to the word apparition?
Negative.
Negative? Because how are spirits or of a dead person negative?
I'm sure they creep people out.
Right, so the spooky eeriness, creepiness of the word apparition is going to translate, and then looking at the wet black boughs, and we can see that because of the connotations of the words that we've deduced from looking at these two lines as a whole, that there's more of an eerie, or negative connotation with these two lines in a poem, okay? See how if we look at key words and we look besides just black being a color, we're looking at the negative feelings often associated with it. By looking at the connotative aspects of this word, we're given a deeper insight to the poem. And you're going to find that in poems across the board. It's a poet's specialty. So then this is just re-emphasizing this. This is why it's important to understand denotation and connotation. It adds meaning to the poetry, and it explains why poetry is hard in so many ways, because a lot of times if we don't know what the poet is trying to relay through the connotative meanings, then we're not going to understand it. So that's why we'll search through it together. Okay, so now I want you to look at the screen. There are going to be two words. We'll do the first one together. Okay, so immature and youthful. What's the positive connotation here? Does immature or youthful have a more positive connotation?
Useful.
Youthful, thank you. Can someone raise their hand and tell me why this is so? Yes.
I suppose like full of energy and like exciting and things like that, and then immature is just like not serious and like.
Right, we typically associate immature with bad behavior, I feel like. And youthful is not like that at all. So okay. The next word, limit or restrict, or more restriction. What has the positive connotation here? Limit. Thank you. Can someone else raise their hand and tell me why limit has the more positive connotation out of these two words? Thank you, Brandon.
When you think of limit, most people think laws.
Laws?
Laws are meant to keep you safe.
Okay, so right, we're looking at laws in a positive nature, which all of us should. So if we're talking about the limit, it's meant to keep us safe. As where restrictions, what? Tight shoelaces? So maybe no comfort, there's not much comfort when you're restricted, and it's more about holding us back. So we're gonna have those negative connotations with the word restriction. Okay, forget the last word game. It's still, you got it right. Good job. Positive connotation. Filthy or dirty? I know, this one's probably more tricky.
Dirty.
Dirty, right. And why is dirty? Do you have a reason? Can you tell me
I
why
think-
dirty has the more positive connotation out of those two words?
Because when somebody's dirty, dirty from head to toe, like you see, you can really see the dirt from him, and filthy would be like maybe a stain or something on your clothes.
Okay, right. So filthy is more apparent out of these two, and probably harsher out of these two as well. Good job. Okay, so now we're looking at negative connotations, so we're switching here. So, well, this one we've sort of went over before with the bargain shopper, but stingy or thrifty? Stingy, right. Jalen, tell me why stingy is more the negative connotation here.
Because this is like stingy, like you don't
inclined to give a little, because if you're being thrifty, you're just trying to save money. If you're being stingy, it's more like it comes out of a manner of greed. Does that make sense? Do we agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So cluttered and messy. These terms are often distinguished when you're talking about a roommate. Or people will make themselves feel better by calling themselves one of these terms and not the other. So which one has the negative connotation here?
Messy.
Okay, right. Why is that, Jeremy? Can you tell me?
It's because it looks a lot more disorganized than cluttered. Because cluttered, it can be organized but have a lot of stuff around. But messy is just
Or you can be more clean and
Yeah.
still cluttered, right?
yeah.
Right. So messy, right, has more of the feelings of disorganized, or more, also I think you associate more dirty terms with being messy. As where you're cluttered, you might just know exactly where that random thing is in the middle of your room, as where anyone else would walk in and think, oh, this room is a mess. But really it's not, it's just cluttered. Okay. I think we're almost finished with these comparisons. Unusual and weird. So which one has the negative connotation? Weird, thank you. And we know from our last study that weird has had a changed meaning over time, right? What did weird used to mean? What? Well, it was in relation to the witches in Macbeth, but what was cursed? It was talking about, what did they do? They predicted,
Future?
right, the future. So it was really being more towards them telling the fates. But in here now, today's society, what does the word weird mean?
Unusual.
Okay. Well, I feel like unusual is a nice way to say weird, right? So what do we think of, what's a word?
Something that you can do that somebody can do. You say kind of weird.
Awkward? Okay, well that, Eddie had a point for how we think of weird today. And then Chance, what did you say? Awkward. So I feel like a lot of times in today's society we see weird as being more awkward too, or just strange. But unusual, how does this word have a more positive connotation?
What is the word that we use?
Unusual? What does it mean?
You're not common.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So Brandon just said not common. So, which weird could mean too if we're using it by the denotation, the denotative definition. But unusual, we're talking about it's not common. So it's like an unusual statue in the museum. But if you didn't like the statue, you'd probably be more inclined to call it a weird statue in the museum. Well done, everyone. Okay, so now we are going to do an activity based on colors and the connotations that we have with each of the colors. So can I have a different person read each color in the meeting for me? Who will read red? Thank you, James.
I color connotation. Red often symbolizes blood, anger, hatred, embarrassment.
Good job. Right, so I feel like we've all seen where red connotates those ideas, or just the color being present. What about green? Who's gonna read green for me?
A color connotation, jealousy.
Right. So green, have you heard the term like green with envy? That's a lot of times where you would say that the connotation has to do with jealousy, or green with envy rather. What's another association we have with green that's not in there?
Money.
The environment, that's a good one. What's
Money.
money, right, that's another big one. So the environment and money are big topics in the US right now that people associate with the color green.
Sick or ill.
Or ill, right? So you associate your appearance being green. White, the color white.
Peace, sort of.
Okay, peace works. Can you read what's up here?
Oh, a color connotation, innocence, purity, angelic.
Right. So peace definitely works in with these three things, right? Innocence, purity, and angelic. A lot of times we associate purity and angel, well, especially angels would be very peaceful. Okay, the color black we saw in the lines before in that poem. Can you read it for me, Chance? Yeah. So death, sickness, bruising. Does anyone else know what 2 lines, the black made you think of storms or the negative connotations associated with that. Blue.
Color, connotation, sadness, depressed, lonely.
Okay, so, thank you, Brandon. Sad, depressed, and lonely. A lot of times this is because we'll say that we're feeling blue. I'm forgetting right now, but I would always get blue on the mood ring. What did it mean on a mood ring? We remember? Calm. Which sort of goes, well, I guess if you're sad or depressed, you still be calm at the same time.
It's also like oceans, bodies of water, rain.
Right,
The sky.
that's good. Both of those. So if we're looking at the environment, bodies of water and then the sky are also blue, and if we see the color blue in a poem or in a story in general, we can often associate it with those aspects of the environment. Yellow, who can read this one for me? Yes, thank you.
Color, connotation, happiness, shining.
Thank you. So happiness or sunshine. Do we have any other things to add to the color yellow?
Picture,
Yes. Yes.
picture.
Victory, like gold, is that what you mean? Right. So
Star.
gold is definitely associated with victory. Stars with the color yellow, looking at the night sky. And lastly, pink. Who will read that for me, please? Yes, thank you.
Pink, a color popular connotation / word association, breast cancer awareness.
Right, thank you. So breast cancer awareness is definitely something that we associate the color pink with today. Also, you could say, if we're looking at gender roles, pink is associated with which gender?
Female.
Right, and then blue would be male. Exactly. Okay, so now, let me turn the light so you can see better. Taking the idea of connotations that we have with colors, we're going to do an activity where we're going to get into pairs, and everyone is going to get a different color paint chip. And then I have here.
Corner victory.
Well, now no one can have that one because you know the answer. Oh, here we go. Okay. So, you're going to get the color with your teammate, as it were. And here are the options of what the name, you know how each different color swatch is given a name? For girls, I know we probably know that nail polishes are given names, fun names. So, definitely similar when it comes to these. So, this color as a name, as one of these is its name. You're going to talk with your partner and decide what you think the name is of your paint swatch. And I want you to have 2 reasons why relating to connotations. So feelings you have, emotions you have, typical ideas associated